Families who lost loved ones in the downing of Flight PS752 are rejecting a verdict handed down by an Iranian court describing the proceedings as illegitimate and meaningless. A Tehran court has allegedly sentenced 10 soldiers responsible for the destruction of the Ukrainian airliner. The passenger flight was shot down by the regime's paramilitary force over 3 years ago, just shortly after takeoff from Tehran. 176 people were killed in the downing, including 55 Canadian citizens and 30 permanent residents. Hamid Esmaeilion's wife, Parisa, and daughter, Rira, were on board that flight. Hamid is a board member of the Association of Families of Flight PS752 victims, and he joins me now. So, Hamid, you and other family members are outright rejecting this court's verdict against these 10 military personnel. Tell us why.
What we saw, what the Islamic Republic of Iran did, was the mockery of justice. You know, from the first days after the downing of Flight PS752, majority of the families, they didn't press charges because we didn't believe there is justice in the Islamic Republic of Iran and in the judiciary system in Iran. So, and those who pressed charges, actually, you know, most of them, they withdrew from the case. More than 70 family members, they withdrew the process 2 months ago. So, as you know, 10 patsies were accused on this case. The real culprits are not in the court, and nothing about the truth was disclosed, and justice was not served.
What would you have liked to have seen? Was there any kind of process that the regime in Iran could have offered you that would have satisfied you at all?
No, nothing from Islamic Republic of Iran. The majority of the families, they have said no to compensation. What we wanted to know was the truth, and what we wanted to see was justice. We know that the leader of Islamic Republic of Iran on the third day of the downing said that it was a human error, and nobody has the permission or has the courage in the Islamic Republic to deny that kind of claims, and they had to follow the orders. So in the last 40 months, they spent or wasted everybody's time on this court case. Yeah, we are talking about the judiciary system that hangs people because of blocking the streets. We are not talking about a normal government or normal regime.
Well, no, you mentioned that because these military court proceedings, they were underway during all of these nationwide protests against the regime, and it happened while they were at their peak late last year. So what do you make of the timing? Is this just coincidence or is this deliberate?
No, it's like a puzzle for us why they did it or what was the purpose of this court. Because if they wanted to convince the public, they already failed that. They wanted to make the families happy about the case. They already failed that. And 4 affected countries also are not happy about this case at all. So, I mean, it's a puzzle. They don't care about anything. They just want to say, okay, we had some trials that we know that this is a sham trial. And they just wanted to close the case. But in our beliefs, this case is open.
So we've asked the federal government for their response to the outcome of what the regime did in its military court, and so far we've not received a response. What would you like to hear from the Canadian government at this point?
My understanding is that they're gonna publish a statement very soon, the 4 affected countries, and we are waiting for that. We want to see that they condemn these short trials. We want to see that they're serious about taking the case to International Court of Justice and then at the end of June, after the arbitration period is over. We want to see that they put IRGC in the list of terrorist organizations. We want to see RCMP open the criminal case for this, and we are still waiting for these actions to be taken.
Right, and so you mentioned the 4 countries, because Canada, along with 3 other countries who lost citizens, they have until the end of June to negotiate an agreement with the regime in Tehran on the downing of the flight. Have you heard any updates on where those talks are and what that agreement might include?
What I know is that the Islamic Republic hasn't even tried to reach out to these 4 affected countries for arbitration. So I think this case will go, for the first time, I think in the history of aviation, the case of the downing of a plane goes to International Court of Justice. And the families of the victims, the association already opened the case in International Criminal Court, and we expect our government to support that. This is something that families did independently, and we need the support of the government for it.
Right, so on that, the International Court of Justice, how quickly do you think that can happen? How quickly do you expect this to end up there?
I think this will be a long process. I'm not a lawyer, you know that, so I hope that the legal team in the government can explain that when they open the case in the International Court of Justice. We are talking about years, but we need to know the truth. If our government knows some information about this case, about the downing of Flight PS752, I don't want any secrecy. My wife and my daughter were on that plane. I want to know what happened to them. If they have any information, they have to disclose that. And I hope that this process helps us to understand what really happened.
I'd like to, if I could, sir, just go back to where this conversation started about the 10 military personnel who have been convicted, sentenced by this court. Do you believe they'll actually suffer any kind of punishment, or do you think they're just sort of token patsies being offered up to sort of satisfy the international community that they've taken this seriously? How would you describe what that is?
If you notice the verdict, there's no names,
Right.
there's no pictures, and nobody knows who these people are. Were they really involved in the downing of Flight PS752? Where were they that night? You know, what was the communication between them and the superiors? So none of these details was disclosed, and they're still in the dark. You know, I mean, the process. It's good to know for you that the families of the victims in Iran, they were excluded from the information. Just only few had the chance to review the case, and nothing was really said to them. And even the lawyers had no chance to read the case. So everything was done in darkness, and for affected countries, families, and the public, all of them, they have no idea.
Well, Hamid, I know this is a difficult one for you to talk, so we appreciate you taking the time and your generosity to speak with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.